Ryan Jarrell here for MMA News, and my next guest picked up a unanimous decision victory this past weekend at UFC Vegas 93. And of course, it is Miles Johns on the show. Miles, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited to talk to you. Big win in the co-main event. Had a lot of eyeballs on this bantamweight bout, and I'm curious too, going into this fight against a guy that's kind of as unpredictable as Andrade can be. He throws a lot of spinning attacks and good combinations and whatnot. How important were your feints and everything to kind of get his timing down in that first round?
He could settle and throw his power punches because Andrade, that's what he does. He wants to set his feet down and throw hard. So I want to keep him guessing, and yeah, so we practice a lot with the feint and fakes.
Yeah, it seemed that there was, quite a feeling out process in the first round, but your striking definitely was the difference. Is your power? You were landing the big power shots. How did you feel as that first round continued to progress?
There was a filling out process. I thought he was going to come a little bit harder at me with heavy kicks, and I was planning to counter those kicks right away. But one thing that happened that was kind of a good and bad is right away, the first jab he threw, I landed a hard right hand, and I saw his eyes kind of get big. And ever since that moment, the whole fight, I was just thinking, I'm landing this right hand. I'm getting my 50 G's tonight. Let me just put one right on the button, and he's going to sleep. So I started thinking about that a little bit too much, and I'm always trying to avoid that. But yeah, what I mean, it's always a give and take. I keep thinking these dudes are going to bring war to me. Cody Gibson, known as a guy who brings war. I was coming in on 2 weeks' notice. Once I punched him in the mouth, he starts falling back on his heels, and he has a lot less volume than normal. Douglas Silva de Andrade, I was like, for sure, I'm going to hit this dude, and he's going to walk right through it. He's bringing war to me for sure. And that's where the volume's going to come from. I'm going to be countering and moving. It's going to be a really fast-paced fight. I punch him in the mouth, and he falls back on his heels, and he brings a lot less volume than normal. So it's just something that I have to recognize is probably going to happen in these fights. And so I'll start increasing in different ways. I know I got things I need to work on, but I think that's where the volume came from. I really was expecting and planning on a very high paced fight because I thought he was just going to come like he normally does. And I was going to be answering, countering kicks and doing all this all night long.
One thing I wanted to ask you, and you mentioned your right hand. Do you think you have the most powerful right hand in the division?
I do. I mean, I don't know. There's guys that hit hard. I think I got some of the most God given power in the division. I'm just going to keep dialing in. Like, I'm so hungry to get back to work. I just want to make it to where it's like an Alex Pierre hook. Cause I landed that hook too, like 3 times. And every time he stumbled, every time he waited. And I know that I need to continue that. I need to add more punches so I can finish him. But at the same time, I feel like as powerful as I am, I'm also accurate. I didn't feel like I was missing much in there. So at the same time, I want to make that hook like an Alex Pierre hook that if it lands, and it will land, it's going to put your lights out. And there's not a lot of 35ers that I feel like can do that. I feel at the bigger weights, there's guys like that, but I want to be one of the first. I want to have that Roy Jones rabbit left hook that just sleeps people.
I love it. How big are your hands? Like, do you have abnormally big hands for the division? Or if you don't, is it more about kind of like technique and precision when you land your punches?
My wife says they're big, but no, I'm just kidding. I don't think they're extra. They're not like, I mean, it's just I got a wide, like she always says I have like clubbing hands, like they're a lot wider than they are like big. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just something that I've been blessed with by God. I'm grateful for that. I'm like a strong, stocky dude. And if you ask my brothers and all my friends growing up, for some reason, people just knew that I could hit really hard too. I mean, I was in a couple fights like at school or whatever, but they just knew. I don't know. It's just something that's always been me. So now I'm trying to hone in on that, and I'm realizing that I'm not a type of fighter that has to bring like a crazy frantic pace. I'm more of a chess player with extreme power that if I land on you, it's gonna hurt you. And so now I'm just trying to add a little more volume into that so that I can get these finishes. But I'm even coming into my own power as I progress in my career.
Well, that's scary for the rest of the division, my man. You are a well-rounded fighter. You're very proficient at takedowns as well. But Andrade, he was tough to get down. Were you surprised how difficult he was to take down, or did you kind of anticipate his takedown defense to be as elite as it was?
Not at all. I knew it was very elite from his body shape, and it like when you have fast kicks like that, you're good at sprawling and like getting your hips into things. So really, the takedowns were just to mix it up. I think one time he hit me with a spinning heel kick that my hand was up, but for some reason it still took my legs out a little bit. I was on the skates a little bit. My mind was there. I was far from being out of there. I actually kind of enjoyed, like I had envisioned, him hitting a hard shot and like being a little wobbly at one point in the fight. And I don't know, I had like a weird fun time being on the skates out there for a second. But I just added in the wrestling just to mix up, like John Gooden said, just to mix the flavor up a little bit, make him drop his hands a little bit. But I knew he was gonna be real hard to actually get down.
So you were never in any like real trouble. You were never really significantly hurt at any point in the fight.
No, I mean, I was like buzzed, but I was a long ways from being out. Like he could have attacked me with everything and it would like and I was recovering super fast. And like I said, I had seen that like in the sauna on my runs. I had envisioned him landing like some knee or some spinning kick that has me a little buzz, and working through that because I knew he was the type of guy that if I started to hurt him, he has a warrior spirit. When you start to hurt those guys, they don't start to fall back and it's a slow kill. It's you start to hurt and then they bring their best foot forward and you have to handle that and then you start to push back and you start to kill. Our coach always talks about that a real warrior is going to put his shield in front of him and give you his biggest surge of energy right before he's on his way out. So I knew like in the third, if I was beating him or whatever, I was going to see the best of him for just a little bit. And if I handled that, then I would start fading him back. So
I thought you won rounds 1 and 2. What I wanted to ask you what your corner told you going into the third round. Like, did they say, "Hey, you're up 2 rounds," and what was their advice as far as that final 5 minutes for you to do in there?
I was like, he's going to come with everything in the third because we won round 1 and 2, right? And he said, I think, but I don't know. Round one was close. We can never know. So let's just stay focused. He is going to come with everything, but just stay focused. Keep moving your feet. Keep your right hand high, and let's just keep winning the rounds. So it was like we both knew it was like maybe we won round 1 and 2. I thought I did, but we weren't 100% sure. You never can be 100% sure. So we wanted to win the third round too.
Yeah, and with these judges nowadays, like we see so many crazy decisions. Every week there's a decision where you're just scratching your head like, how did they come to that conclusion? How confident did you feel before you got your hand raised?
Very confident. Yeah, judging is real. It is weird, but I've never lost a decision fight in my life. I've won 2 split decisions, and most of my decisions have been pretty decisive. There's also an energy that comes like with these decisions. I feel like when you're in the apex and you're watching that fight, you could feel the energy of every single time I hit this dude, it's hurting him, and maybe I need to do a little bit more. But he's just trying to give me his best because he's losing. Like I just feel like I don't know. I focus on that when I'm fighting, radiating that energy of I'm winning this. This is my show. Judges are on my side. I feel like if you can hone in on that, that's a skill in itself.
And you said in the post-fight interview that you really found yourself from the training room into the cage. Is there something that you can point towards as to getting you to that point? Is it Trey Ogden and Marathon MMA? Like what's kind of helped you transition to finding yourself in the UFC octagon?
I was a victim to my own distractions. I was drinking too much. I was diagnosed with ADHD and I was taking a little bit of Adderall and that became too much of a thing. There was just little distractions like that outside of the octagon. And really it comes down to I wasn't getting all the dopamine I needed through like the hard work, through everything. It was and honestly it's like I don't know. Like alcohol is a bit, not being sober isn't for everybody, but in this game as like a fighter, alcohol can definitely be a big distraction and can really weigh you down and slow you down. So once I got rid of all that stuff and there was no shortcuts, there was no distractions. I was just fully focused, both feet in, is I'm doing this as a professional athlete. I'm a fighter. I'm a professional athlete. I'm putting everything I have into this, from diet to not partying and not drinking to not this. No Adderall because ADD. Like, I mean, some people need it for ADD, but I knew it was an excuse for me, you know? So I got rid of all that stuff, and changed my life really, and it helped my marriage, helped me as a father, helped everything. And once I did that, I just felt like, yeah, I was a different person. When you saw the Mario Bautista fight, he hit me with one knee that I took, but then the second one that landed clean, I was out of there. I didn't, like Mike Tyson says, if you don't have discipline, the first moment something goes bad, you're
Yeah.
gonna be done. And I would that's what happened. And that's why I was so pumped up with Douglas, because he did hit me with that knee. That still was like boom. It was like the same knee that I had seen before. Like I'd been there before, but that this time I was like, no, like that's doing nothing to me. Like, let's go. That's just gonna fire me up. And in the past, that could have been the end of the fight. And so now, like, it's all my losses, my two only losses, I feel like I beat myself. I know for a fact I beat myself before I walked in the octagon, because I was not the same. I was not doing the things I should. So really, that's where like that emotion comes from. Like, when I've been on, I've never been beat.
So you don't drink at all now. You completely cut it out of your life.
Completely cut out of my life.
Can
The after party, I had the Heineken Zeros.
Okay. Wow. Good for you, man. So, I mean, I don't mean to pry too much. I'm just curious, like, how often were you drinking? Was it something where it was just kind of like a social weekend thing, or was it something you were drinking more? I know I talked to TJ Brown, and he went through a very similar situation where now he's
Yeah,
completely sober. He doesn't touch it at
respect.
all.
Yeah, I saw TJ's journey, and that's awesome. I love that, and it's becoming more and more of a thing. I feel like you see non-alcoholic beers all over the store and stuff. But at first it was like just like a weekend social thing, and then it was like, oh, we don't have practice Wednesday night, so maybe Wednesday night, and then it was like, if we didn't have practice in the night, and oh, we're taking, like, even if I'm taking the kids to the park in the evening, have a couple beers before. I don't know. It just, I could see it progressing. And I come from a line of, honestly, and I've known that too. So yeah, it was definitely too much, and it was definitely a distraction. And I was saying before, I remember even after the Dos Santos fight, I got the 50K bonus, like the biggest knockout I had. And I had my family at an Airbnb, and one of my kids was sick. So me and my wife were going to go out that night. I remember just feeling angry about that. Like, I felt like I deserved to be out there, like, partying in this, even though my kid was sick at the B&B and I had to stay home. Like, I was a little mad about that. Like, oh, I just got the bonus, blah, 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 you're the man. And I had to put myself in check, because if, like, I'm mad about that, my priorities are all wrong. Like, there's nothing out there. Like, that's just a sign that I was like addicted to the alcohol and the partying and all that. And yeah, I just put myself in check. I was like, dude, your priorities are wrong. You should be like, I know you don't want your kid to be sick, but you should just be here with them and happy to be here with them and happy to take care of them. It doesn't matter if you just got the bonus. Like, that's your job. You just went and did your job. So what? And I did. I put myself in check, and now my life, what I do after a fight, is completely different. And I hope it translates to, like, longevity. I want to be fighting for a long time, and what things I was doing was not a recipe to be fighting for a long time.
Good for you, man. Really sounds like you've got your priorities in order, and things are clicking on all cylinders for you.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you too. Obviously, you had a teammate and friend on that same card. One heck of a fight that Garrett had with Brady Easton. What are your takeaways as a teammate from that fight? Because Garrett had some big moments. I thought he was going to get him out of there at one point, and Brady hung tough and ended up, getting the finish late. Have you talked to Garrett? How's he doing? And I guess what
Oh,
are the
absolutely.
takeaways?
We stayed at the same Airbnb, so we all went back there together. Garrett's family came over, my family came over, and we dealt with it together as a team. It hurts. My immediate reaction is just, I feel bad for the dude. Like, I know how bad losing hurts. I know how hard it is. We went there together on the same mission, did the work together, and it didn't work out for him, and it did for me. And so that sucks, and it makes you even feel bad a little bit when you're hanging out after and stuff. But the other part of me is like looking at him, and I see him upset and stuff, and I'm just so excited. I'm just like licking my chops, dude, because it's like this kid's gonna grow from that. He put on one heck of a fight. Like he did a lot of things right. When I'm looking at it, I think we turn up the cardio a little bit for those dog fights. If we turn the cardio up a little bit, he'll get out of some of those positions a little bit more. But he's so young in the game. He was on a 2-fight win streak in the UFC, took one L to a good guy. Like that type of stuff is type of stuff that can mold you to being all the best guys have losses like that, that'll mold you to being somebody really good. So I'm just excited for what he's gonna do after this. So when I was like watching him with this girl and sad and every like a big part of me is just really excited inside because I'm like, this dude's about to like, let's go, Garrett. Like we about to turn up and he's gonna definitely get better from this.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I love Garrett. I've been interviewing him for quite some time now. He's
Yeah.
just a good guy, and we know what his skill set is. So yeah, the sky is the limit for him. So I'm excited to see what is next for him. Tell me a little bit just about Trey Ogden as a coach and Marathon MMA. He's a really fascinating guy to talk to, and it just seems like him as a coach would be really a perfect person to be learning under. Can you kind of speak a little bit on that?
He really is. When I moved here, I was moving to get closer to family, and I needed to switch my life up. But I thought I was gonna be training under James Krause, and then all that happened, and I found Trey through that, and I was even a little reluctant to go to Trey because he was also a fighter, and I had a little peer aspect to it. Like it was like, oh, I don't know if I want another fighter to try to tell me, but I didn't realize how serious of a coach he was and how much coaching is a passion for him. And now I just feel like all the cards lined up. Like the James Krause stuff didn't happen for me, but somehow God saw the situation unfolding and put me in this situation so that I could be lined up with Trey and Garrett at Marathon. It's like it's crazy because he's just the perfect person to have in my corner right now. If you want to get to know Trey Ogden a little bit and who he is as a coach, just go to Marathon MMA and look at his posts about Garrett's loss. I see a lot of these coaches who go to the UFC on the weekend and they have guys that they bring and the ones that win get a post about how good they are and the ones that lose like you don't hear much about it and if you just read the post and the mindset that Trey has about Garrett's fight, then you'll understand a lot about who he is as a person, as a coach, and I'm just excited to be on this journey with them.
Yeah, you're definitely with the right guys on a great team, man. As far as the 135 division goes, I mean, you're a guy, you carry a lot of muscle. What is that cut like for you? This is my first time interviewing you, so I'm thinking to myself, this guy's got to walk around at like at least 170. That's a big cut to make bantamweight, right?
Dude, it's a big cut. It takes a lot of sacrifice. And some people say, "Oh, the cut weight, cutting weight." For me, like I like that sacrifice. When Vikings go to war, they have a big party before, and then they head out on their quest. And there's not a lot of food. There's not a lot of water. They're starving for a little bit until they see the enemy. They fight the enemy, and then maybe they don't eat that night and all this, and they fight again. Like I feel like that weight cut brings me into that war mindset. But it's tough, dude. I'm on like for like the last couple of weeks. I wake up, I drink my coffee, I put a little collagen in it so that has protein, and then I train like 2 to 3 times a day, and then I don't eat again until I come home at night, which is like 8 o'clock, and I'll have 12 ounces of chicken. And May not the last couple of weeks, I don't even have the carbs with that. Just like 12 ounces of chicken, and yeah, it's like an 800-calorie diet for over a week, and it's tough, but it's
Damn.
doable. If you can drink water, it's doable. Like I'm realizing it's doable. When I did it for Cody, that was such a tough cut, 32 pounds in 2 weeks. But I realized how capable I am. Like I was fired up. I was not eating hardly. I was getting my protein in, enough protein, and that's it. And I was still training hard, and I was still getting better, and I was still like, it was like we don't really need as much as we think. We can do this for a while as long as we're drinking water. I don't cut the water. This time the water cut went really, really well. I got down to 36 the night before. I mean 37 the night before. So it went well. It's a hard cut, and you got to sacrifice, and you can't wait till the last. I couldn't wait till the last week to do it, but if I do it right, it's worth it.
So I was right. You're north of 170.
Maybe right now, but not normally. Not normally, but it's very. If I'm in shape, like I could take a picture with like a six pack, I could easily be 162.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, I figured I wanted to dive into that a little bit because I had to imagine, and you confirmed that the weight cut couldn't be terribly easy for you because you're a big man. As far as the top of the division goes, I'm obviously Sean O'Malley's a champion right now. Couple big fights around the corner. I wanted to get your pick on
Yeah,
Chino versus Figgy, and then Sandhagen versus Umar Nurmagomedov. Who do you see winning those two fights? They're important fights in the division.
I got Cheeto. I got him winning that. I think it'll look close in the beginning, and then I got him winning it pretty decisively as the fight goes on. And then I got Sanhagen. Um, we saw a little bit with Umar last. He got clipped right away in that fight, which that dude was a crazy fast striker. I was surprised that kid coming in, but yeah, I think Sanhagen gets that done. Unless Umar's grappling is at the level of Khabib to where if he gets a hold of you, it's just done. But I don't think it is, and Sanhagen is a very cerebral fighter, and he's ready for that. So I got him in that one.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that as well. As far as who's going to be the guy to dethrone O'Malley, who is it? How long do you think he's going to hang on to the belt? Will we have a new champion by the end of this year?
O'Malley's good. I think that he's going to be the guy hanging on to the belt for a little while. I don't, against a lot of people's beliefs, I don't think Murad's going to get it done. I think uh, I think people sleep on O'Malley for the martial artist that he is because of like the antics and the hair and this and that, but he's a true martial artist. And I think he'll be somebody coming up like my time, like in my area, or maybe who's already at the bottom of the rankings. I don't know. That'll end up doing it.
Okay, I love it. And I love the call out too of Ricky Simone. Did he respond to you?
I wasn't even on there to see. I don't even, it's not even about if he responds. I don't care. I just put it out there for Sean and see what Sean, just so Sean can think about it and see what he says. But I think Ricky said something like had to use I was bored, so I went to use the restroom during the fight. Who goes to the restroom because they're bored? That don't that doesn't even make any sense. I go to the restroom because I gotta go to the restroom. Like, but I don't know. We'll see. There's that, and then I've said Amin Zahibi name a couple times. He's on a 4-fight win streak, 2 big knockouts. I think that'd be a good fight. Some people were saying Pedro Munoz, and I was like, oh yeah. I thought maybe I needed one more fight before that, but if you think about it, he just fought Kyler Phillips and lost to him. Kyler Phillips is at the bottom of the rankings, so Pedro Munoz fight, I would love that. So we'll just see what happens.
What about Adrian Yanez?
Yeah, they. People always say that, and if Sean sends that, I'm not against it, but I don't say his name just because I do like Adrian. We have trained since then. Before I was at Marathon, we trained, and he's good people, But if that's what the UFC wants to see at some point, then I'm sure he'd oblige, and I'd oblige, and we get in there and throw down.
Yeah, Adrian is a really cool dude. There's no doubt about that. As
Yeah.
far as the Simone fight goes, if that does happen, how do you see that fight playing out?
Yeah, I see it being a good fight. Ricky's a gamer, but I think Ricky would have to start. He'd want to have to start wrestling me, and especially after that song. I think after that song knockout, I think it leaves some scar tissue on your brain when you're a wrestler, and then you start getting into the striking, and then you get boxed up like that. I think it'll make you go back to your roots a little bit. And yeah, I think he'd have to wrestle me. I think he'd bring a high pace. It's never easy to get Ricky out of there, but I also think I can knock him out.
All right. Well, I'm excited to see you back in there whenever that is. Last thing from me, what is the perfect time frame? I mean, you just went through a grueling 3 round fight. Do you want 3, 4 months off? Like when would you like to jump back in there?
I thought this fight was going to be a lot more of a war because who Douglas is, and well, I don't. We talked about earlier, but like once I hit you, you kind of fall back on your heels. So it really wasn't that. Like my body feels good. I was like, there's no way you're going to come out of another. Like I kept coming out of fights pretty clean. I was like, there's no way you're coming out of another one super clean, bro. Like you're gonna have a cut, something's gonna happen, and I'm clean. I'm good. Besides like my little voice because he punched me in the throat. So I've been fighting every 3 months right now. If we could stay on that schedule, that'd be awesome. 3, 4 months. But we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, Miles, I appreciate your time today. A pleasure to talk to you here for the first time. Before we do sign off, I want to give you the floor. If there's anyone you want to thank or anything you want to plug, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'd like to say thanks Sheath Underwear. They got a great product, but also just for their support throughout this camp. Element T has been a great support, and yeah, I guess that's all I got right now.